My dear friends, I shall ring the bell, which means we are convening. Okay. Plug your ears now. It says loud, loud noise. My dear friends, a very, very heartfelt welcome to all of you, the ones who are gathered here in person and those who are online. Salams, shalom, peace, namaste. So happy to see you. In Seattle, we have a very particular, specific monsoony day. And I'm very happy because I'm originally from a country called Bangladesh. And there we enjoy those pouring, ear-splitting rain. We love the sound of it. So I'm totally at home. So once again, a very heartfelt welcome to you. And please know your blessing in person. And for those online, your presence is truly a blessing. Okay, now I think we have some readings. Am I right, Karen? Let me look at the program. What we have now is calling in the ancestors and honoring our first peoples. And here comes Brother Chris.
Good morning, and welcome to Interfaith Community Sanctuary. Ramadan Mubarak for those who celebrate. And I'm just glad to see everybody and to be able to share this with the online also. I'd like to open by honoring our ancestors with a prayer that's from the Lakota, which you may have heard before, and I'm glad to speak it today. All my relations, I honor you in this circle of life with me today. I am grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge you in prayer. To the Creator, for the ultimate gift of life, I thank you. To the mineral nation that has built and maintained my bones and all foundations of life experience, I thank you. To the plant nation that sustains my organs and body and gives me healing herbs for sickness, I thank you. To the animal nation that feeds me from your own flesh and offers your loyal companionship in this walk of life, I thank you. To the human nation that shares my path as a soul upon the sacred wheel of earthly life, I thank you. To the spirit nation that guides me invisibly through the ups and downs of life and for carrying the torch of light through the ages, I thank you. To the four winds of change and growth, I thank you. You are all my relations, my relatives, without whom I could not live. We are in the circle of life together, coexisting, codependent, co-creating our destiny. One not more important than the other. One nation evolving from the other and each dependent upon the one above and the one below. All of us a part of the great mystery. I thank you for this life. I also wanted to acknowledge that this land that we are on, as that I just read, acknowledges that all life had indigenous peoples on it before. This land here was settled first by the Coast Salish people that I'm aware of. Locally in Seattle was the Duwamish. For reasons unknown, even though we acknowledge them with our river, with other words in our area. Federally, the Duwamish tribe is not acknowledged as a legal entity. I honor that they have gifted us this land. Maybe that's a very flowery term, but we honor their sacrifices, their dedication, and I wish to say a prayer that one of our local leaders, Siswinkle Laura Boucher, has taught us. Folks who like to, if you want to put your hand on your heart, and here, when I do that, I think of gathering all that is human and all our experiences through us. Then prayerfully we lift up our hand to the sky, offering what's in the hand to the Creator and bringing it back down, hopefully with a gift. As I do that, I say, "Aho." So if you want to do it together, that's great. Oh. Blessings to you all. I did have one other thing. At this time, we also like to honor the Divine Feminine. And some of you may be aware of the name Margot Adler. Today would have been her birthday. She passed in 2014, but I did have a quote I wanted to read you from her, which, let's see. Goodness gracious, I had it, and where'd it go? Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I had it. I'd like to say blessed be to her and to all depictions and manifestations of the Divine Feminine. We honor your teachings also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Chris. You know, I'm a chant junkie, and since you couldn't find it on the iPhone, I've got it in my brain here. Let's do JJ Ma, really honoring the Divine Feminine. JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma, JJ Ma. Opening our hearts to receiving those beautiful attributes of the Divine Feminine, allowing those attributes to perfume our hearts. Okay, my dear friends, we really honor the Charter for Compassion. And Karen, who's reading the Charter for Compassion? Oh, Brother Steve is. Okay. The Charter for Compassion. It's on.
I'll pause a moment until everyone has a copy of this so that we can read it together. The Charter for Compassion. The principle, and please read this with me, the principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religions, ethical and spiritual traditions, calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Compassion impels us all tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of our fellow creatures, to dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there, and to honor the inviolable sanctity of every single human being, treating everybody without exception with absolute justice, equity, and respect. It is also necessary in both public and private life to refrain consistently and empathically from inflicting pain, to act or speak violently out of spite, chauvinism, or self-interest, to impoverish, exploit, or deny basic rights to anybody, and to incite hatred by denigrating others, even our enemies. It's a denial of our common humanity. We acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately and that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion. We therefore call upon all men and women to restore compassion to the center of religion, to refrain to ancient principles that any interpretation of Scripture that breeds violence, hatred, or disdain is illegitimate, to ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information about all traditions and cultures, to encourage a positive appreciation of cultural and religious diversity, to cultivate an informed empathy with the suffering of all human beings, even those regarded as enemies. We urgently need to make compassion a clear, luminous, and dynamic force in our polarized world. Rooted in a principle of determination to transcend selfishness, compassion can break down political, dogmatic, ideological, and religious boundaries. Born of our deep interdependence, compassion is essential to human relationship and to a fulfilled humanity. It is the path to enlightenment and interdiscipline to the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community. And there is a copy of the charter in a wall plaque at the entrance of the church, and it's always kept there to remind us of this, to be compassionate to one another. Thank you.
Brother Steve, thank you so much. Let's just have a few moments of silence to allow those beautiful words to just resonate within us as we drink it in. So once again, my dear friends, what a joy it is to have you, all of you, in person and also online. And I'm particularly happy that today we have some friends who are visiting Seattle from far away, from Las Vegas, from Santa Fe. Heartfelt welcome to you.
Thank you.
And I see in the group here, there's our friend from Turkey, but she lives here. So I'm going to impose on her and say, please recite or sing this beautiful Turkish ilahi. These are actually prayers, songs filled with sacred devotion. This is Bilgehan.
Salam. Hi, everyone. So maybe a Ramadan ilahi. Then it's ilahis are ilah is divinity, divine. So it's coming from the divine, and this is an invocation of different names and attributes of Allah, and asking for forgiveness in Ramadan, and welcoming and saying goodbye to Ramadan, the best of the months. So Bismillah. Ya Hannan, Ya Mennan, Ya Zel Cudi Vel İhsan, ثبت قلوبنا للإيمان نرجو عفوك والغفران لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله Merhaba, merhaba, Ramazan, merhaba. Elveda, elveda, şehri siyam, elveda. Ahirihu, zahirihu, evvelihu, batınuhu, kul yahu, yahu, ya meliku, hak yahu, yahu, ya sameden, la ilahe illallah, Muhammedur Resulallah, la ilahe illallah, Muhammedur Resulallah. Elveda, elveda, Ramazan, elveda. Elveda, elveda, şehri siyam, elveda.
Thank you so much, Sister Bilgehan. And once again, just a few moments of silence. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallahu. La ilaha illallahu. One more time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallahu. La ilaha illallahu. And becoming very still. Okay, my dear friends, now the reflection. And today the topic is, the official topic is refining your body to really honor, take care, respect, and love the physical body. Of course, we know from the COVID time, oh my God, how critical it is to take care of ourselves, not just emotionally, mentally, but also physically. Important to eat well, do exercises, breathing exercises, to honor the body, which all traditions say is a sacred temple. And in many traditions they say it is a sacred temple because it houses our soul. In Islam, the Quran says it houses the breath of God, Spirit of God within each human body. You know, as a Muslim, when I do prayers, some of you know, Islamic prayers consist of body movements. You bow, you get up, you prostrate. So how wonderful, besides the benefits of mental, emotional, spiritual advantages you absorb, it is also like a mini yoga. It's healthy. It really contributes to your physical health. And I personally, I love to walk, and whenever I can, my meetings, I say, let's go to Green Lake. For those who are not familiar, there's a wonderful lake nearby, and we walk around Green Lake and we discuss matters of what we pretend are of global importance. It feels good. And we also feel also very, very good. So I'll pause here, ask yourself, knowing how critical it is to honor the body, what are you doing in your life, in this busy life of trials and tribulations, also a lot of joy. What am I doing to take care physically of my body? I'll be quiet. Just ask yourself that question. Okay, moving on. Very critical to realize that what affects our physical body in a very phenomenal, significant way are our thoughts and our emotions. You know, there's so many experiments with plants, which are living organisms. Any plant. The experiments of, you go to a plant and continuously, over a period of long time, you hurl abuses at it. Vile abuses. It begins to wither. This is a physical phenomena. Or you play loud, discordant music. You blare the music that is loud and clangy and discordant. It affects a plant. Similarly, if you pour out light and love and blessings as often as you can to the plant, it energizes, makes the plants flourish. And if you play music, and they've tried different kinds of music, the music that the plants love the best is classical music. They do best when they receive the vibrations of classical music. Then I love those other experiments where people who are 70 or 80 years old, they've done some experiments. They take them back 50 years back, when they're probably in their 20s or 30s, and they create an environment, an enclosed environment where the houses, the methods of communication, the TV, the computer, the cars, the newspapers, the food, the kind of refrigerator, is all of that of 50 years ago. And they live there for a few weeks in a relaxed way. But everything around them physically in that environment is of that of 50 years ago. And guess what? After a few weeks, they find that their physical health has become more youthful. The power of the mind, the power of the heart, how it can affect your physical body. Just be with that. You know, currently in our class, we are studying the Book of Joy by Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. And, you know, for those of you who are Buddhists here, you know the first noble truth of Buddhism is, yes, my friends, there is dukkha. It's inevitable. There is suffering. Why? Because, as the Quran says, in this created world, it's a world of opposites. You'll have joys, but you'll also have sorrows. You'll have beautiful feelings, happiness, excitement, passion, intimacy, love. But you'll also experience its opposite, anger, fear, sadness. Inevitable. And the entire gist of the book is, it addresses each one of us. Brother Jamal, understand this. The way you respond to your suffering, to your negative, difficult feelings, which are what? Inevitable. The way you respond to them impacts unimaginably your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health. In a very big way. Ask yourself, in my life, am I in an environment where there are more positive than negative thoughts from outside and from inside me? Same thing with my emotions, outside and inside. What kind of environment am I living in? Because that is going to, just from a physical perspective, it is going to impact phenomenally my immune system. And this book talks about the fact that, we all have the capacity, the power to develop, of course, physical immunity by eating well, doing exercise, but also our mental immunity, our emotional immunity, I might even say spiritual immunity. But the book says, please remember, it is not just in an instant. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience, it takes work. So Desmond Tutu was asked, do you ever get angry? He said, of course, I get angry, but I have done the practice of not reacting. And that helps me with my physical health, mental health, emotional health. So this particular writer says, I was in a car with Desmond Tutu, the Archbishop. He was driving, and suddenly some outside car cut him off, and the Archbishop had to put the brakes on, and it was a sort of a difficult moment. But the writer or the passenger noticed that Desmond Tutu did not express anger, fear, or say any bad word. And he asked him later on, how is it you responded in that calm way? He said, it took me long time. But I have developed the ability not to react through some practices that I do. I use self-talk. That's one of the techniques. The Dalai Lama was asked, do you get angry, frustrated? Of course, I used to get quite angry, frustrated. He says, particularly when in India, I have to go to these important conferences, the planes are either always late or quite often late, or they won't even fly for a day or two. And I used to get so frustrated. But then because of these practices, I don't get frustrated anymore, because I talk to myself, maybe it's for a good reason. They have a mechanical problem. I'd rather they fix it rather than not fix it. Not have the problem in midair. And also now I have so much time, said the Dalai Lama, to do more meditation. So I'd like to summarize for you just a few minutes, something which we consider a lifetime of work that we have to do continuously to reach the point where we can develop physical immunity, mental immunity, emotional immunity. The first one I would say is from my personal experience, so everybody has their own particular methods that are going to work the best for them. For me, just practicing daily silence, which is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of the little self. So I ask myself, how often do I practice real, authentic silence? Because as the mystics say, Jamal, in your daily work, filled with busyness, this issue, that issue, very often, if you don't take care of yourself, you're like a fish out of water, thrashing and quivering on the banks. And from time to time, you have to dive into those oceans of silence to become rejuvenated, renewed. In some traditions, it's called withdrawal and return. We have some Buddhists here in our group here. I love the words of the Buddha, or the life of the Buddha, who was probably one of the busiest human beings on the planet. And in spite of his busyness, he would meditate 3 hours a day. He would take 3 months off in the year, in the rainy season, to become renewed and come back refreshed. So silence is a very wonderful practice. I love the practice of compassionate self-talk. We call it sacred naming. So since childhood, my parents have taught me to choose a word to accompany my name, and to remember that whenever I have an internal conversation, and we all have internal conversations, the problem is a lot of the internal conversation is negative. I'm not good enough. Oh, you're this, you're that. At that times, and at other times also, do a spiritual intervention. So I always call myself Brother Jamal. And in that tone of compassion, the tone is also very important. Suppose I get angry, so I have an internal conversation. But Brother Jamal, please restrain yourself. Don't say anything you'll regret. Restrain yourself. We'll take care of it with some other practice. And that restraint, because of the compassionate self-talk, is critical. It creates a buffer between a situation and me reacting, saying something, doing something which actually harms me. So you noticed Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama, I believe do a lot of, in their own way, compassionate self-talk before reacting. The other practice I do is becoming aware of my thoughts. You see, if I have a thought, and this is in every tradition, that, like Rumi says, circle a ruby mine, you become a ruby. If your thought is that of a ruby, you become a ruby actually. Circle a rose, you become a rose garden. The Buddha said, we are what we think. We are what we think. Everything that we are arises with our
you become a
thoughts.
Ruby. If your thought is that of a ruby, you become
Speak and act with a pure mind, and happiness follows you as the wheel follows the oxen cart.
The Buddha said, we are what
Speak
we
and act
think.
with an impure
We
mind,
are
thought,
what we think.
sorrow,
Everything
unhappiness
that we
follows
are
you,
arises
like your shadow
with
follows
our
you.
thoughts.
So this wonderful practice in the traditions, I love to do
Speak
that,
and
is
act with a pure
if I have a
mind,
thought which
and
is
happiness
negative, if I
follows
don't
you,
take care of it, guess what?
as the wheel follows
It
the
goes
oxen
into a
cart.
feeling.
Speak and act
anger.
with an impure
If I
mind.
don't take care of that, it goes into, it morphs,
Sorrow,
it festers
unhappiness
into what
follows
is
you,
called
like
a
your shadow
negative
follows.
imaginary
So this
scenario.
wonderful practice in the tradition,
And
I
that
love to
becomes
do
a
that, is
reality.
if I have a thought
Unless
which is negative, if
I can
don't
do a
take care
practice
of
of
it,
whenever
guess
I get
what?
the negative imaginary
It goes
scenario,
into
I'm
a
unaware,
feeling.
unconscious, I immediately say,
Anger.
not real, not
If I
real.
don't take care of that, it goes into, it morphs, it
Letting go,
festers
letting go, letting
into what
go.
is called a negative
In
imaginary
Hinduism, Buddhism, they
scenario.
say, neti,
And that
neti,
becomes a
neti, neti.
reality.
Not this, not that,
Unless
not real, not real.
I can do a practice
If you're
of
cyber
whenever I
savvy,
get
you go
a
delete,
negative
delete,
imaginary
cancel,
scenario,
cancel.
I'm unaware, unconscious, I immediately say, not
Okay,
real, not
just
real.
be with that. I ask you now, what are you
Letting
doing
go, letting go, letting go.
to take care of negative
In
thoughts?
Hinduism, Buddhism, they say, neti, neti,
Because we
neti,
are what
not
we
this, not that, not real, not real. If you're cyber savvy, you go delete, delete, cancel, cancel. Okay, just be with that. I ask you now, what are you doing to take care
Now,
of negative
the
thoughts?
emotions, difficult
Because we are what
emotions,
we think.
excessive anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, extreme sadness,
And now, the emotions.
the wounds I have, emotional
Difficult
wounds from
emotions.
childhood, if I don't take care of them,
excessive
Guess what?
anger, jealousy,
all the great sages have
greed,
said, and even modern sages
resentment,
have said,
extreme
it
sadness.
shows up in you
The
physically,
wounds I have, emotional wounds
as an
from childhood,
illness,
if I don't
as a
take care of
disease.
them, guess
If you
what?
study some of
All
the
the
New York
great
Times
sages have said,
bestseller,
even
Carolyn
modern
Myss,
sages have said,
who works with this Harvard professor
it
in
shows
medical
up in
school,
you
I think his name is Norman Shealy.
physically.
Or if you look at
As
the
an
books of
illness,
that
as a
OBGYN
disease. If you study
doctor,
some of the New York Times
Christine
bestseller,
Northrup.
Carolyn Myss, who works with this Harvard professor,
they say they can even
in
tell
medical
you
school,
where
I think his
in
name
your
is Norman
body is
Shealy.
lodged that emotional wound.
Or if you look at the books of
And by
that
taking care of
OBGYN,
it, not only helps you
Dr.
emotionally, mentally, but
Christine
physically.
Northrup.
So very important
They
to
say
have
they
a
can even tell
practice
you where in your body is
to deal
lodged
with.
that emotional wound.
to
And by
heal
taking care of
the
it,
emotional
Not
wound.
only helps you emotionally,
I love the
mentally, but
practice, and we share it
physically.
all the time in all my classes, any
So
class I
very important to
do,
have a
sacred
practice
holding, because any difficult
To
feeling, any
deal
feeling,
with,
it has a corresponding
to
physical
heal the
sensation. How do I know I'm
emotional
angry?
wound.
because
practice
I
that we
feel
share all
a
the time
sensation
in
in
all
a
my
part
classes.
of
Any
my
class I
body.
do, sacred holding.
This practice called
Any
sacred
difficult
holding is
feeling, any
to give
feeling,
myself permission.
it has a
When I'm
corresponding physical
still, I have the
sensation.
time,
How
I
do
have the
know
energy.
angry?
I ask myself, Brother Jamal, you got
Because
so
I
angry.
feel a
Where do you feel it in your
sensation
body?
in
It
a
has a
part of
location.
my body.
So number
This
one is
practice called
feel it.
sacred
Number
holding
two is
to give myself
locate it.
permission.
Number three is just
When
with
I'm
compassion
still,
for
I have
yourself.
the time,
That's
I
the
have
key.
the
With
energy.
mercy
I
for
ask myself,
yourself.
Brother Jamal,
Just
you
be
got so
with it.
angry.
No
Where
need
do
to
you feel it
fix
in your
it.
body? It has a
No need
location.
to analyze it, but a great
So
need to
number
be
one is
present.
feel it. Number two is locate it.
If it moves,
Number
move
three
with
is just with compassion for yourself. That's the key, with mercy for yourself.
Then you can ask me
Just
some
be with it.
questions.
No need to fix it.
Do you have a message for
No
me?
need to analyze it, but a
Do you have
great
a
need
secret
be
you want to
present with
share?
it. If it
The
moves,
last
move
question
with
is,
it, but
how may I
honor
love
it.
you? It is
Then
begging
we
to
can ask you
be
some
touched,
questions.
held,
Do you have a message for me?
embraced, loved.
Do you have a secret
That is
you
how
want
it
to
gets
share?
healed
And the last question is, how may I love
and
you?
transformed.
It is begging to be touched.
The last part is, as you focus on
held,
that, just breathe through it.
embraced, loved. That is how
Just
it gets
breathe through it.
healed
Allow the divine breath to caress you there.
and transformed.
I found this to be a
The
very
last part is,
powerful
as you
practice,
focus
which
on
is
it,
why
just breathe
any
through it.
opportunity I get, I will share sacred
Just
hope.
breathe through it. Allow
I'm
the
being
divine breath to
redundant all the
caress
time
you
because
there.
I say it again and again and again because I have
I
found
found
for
this to
me,
be a
if I'm
very
angry,
powerful practice, which is why
any level of
opportunity
anger,
I get,
when I
share
do sacred
sacred
holding, my
I'm
anger
being redundant all the time
transforms
because I say it
into
again
a
and
greater
again and again, because I
enthusiasm,
have found for me,
inner
if I'm
vigor,
angry, in
my
any
fear
level of anger,
into
when I
a
do
greater
sacred holding, my
mindfulness,
anger transforms
my
into
sadness into a greater
enthusiasm,
empathy.
inner vigor.
So in my sermons, in
My
my
fear
classes, I just
into
repeat it again.
a
I don't feel
greater
shy about it. I repeat it again and again and again and
My
again. And I do it for
sadness into
myself, so I do
greater
it.
empathy.
Okay, so just
So
be
in my
with that for a few
sermons, in my
minutes.
classes, I just repeat it again. I don't feel shy about it. I repeat it again and again and again and again, and I do it for myself, so I do it. Okay, so just be with that.
Now
for
what
a few
about
moments.
life-giving positive thoughts?
Now what
And
about
I love that story of that
life-giving
true story
positive
experiment in a university where they had a whole large number of rabbits.
And I love that story of
You know,
that,
I think it's
true story
by
experiment in a university.
National Institute of Health,
where they had a
actually.
whole,
And they were
large
feeding the
number of
rabbits very harmful
I think
food,
it's,
like high
by
cholesterol, sadly enough,
National Institute
for
of
the
Health,
sake of
actually.
human
And they were
development
feeding
of
the rabbits
medicine,
very
to see what,
harmful food,
how
high
they,
cholesterol,
it would affect
sadly
their
enough,
physical
for the
body.
sake of human
high-level
development of
cholesterol
medicine,
food.
to see what,
But they
how
found that
it would affect
over the
physical
days
body.
and weeks and months, there was one
High-level
rabbit,
cholesterol food.
in contrast to
But they
all
found
the other rabbits who developed severe
Over the days and
disease,
weeks and months,
that
there
one
was
rabbit did not develop.
In contrast
disease.
to all the other
And they were
rabbits
quite
who
puzzled.
developed
What's so special
severe
about this rabbit?
disease, that
It
one
was
rabbit
fed the
did not
same
develop
toxic food.
disease.
And they found out through their
And they were quite
investigation
puzzled.
that
What's so
this
special about
young
this
girl
rabbit?
who would go and
It
feed
was fed
all
the
those
same
rabbits,
toxic food.
this particular rabbit, she would,
And they
before
found out through
feeding,
their investigation
pick it
that
up
this
and just
young
pet
girl
it
would go
and
and
kiss it
feed
and
all
love it
those
and just
rabbits.
stroke it.
This particular rabbit, she
Give
would,
it
before
lots
feeding,
of
pick it up
love.
and just pet it and kiss it and love it and just stroke it.
And
Give it
just that
lots of
offering of the
love.
vibration of love protected that rabbit from that
And just that
disease.
offering of the vibration of love
Now we
protected
know
that rabbit from that.
from all the
disease.
sages, you know, I love the poetry of Rumi, who says,
Now
we
we
don't
know
understand what love
From all the
is.
sages, you know, I love the
Rumi says,
poetry of
when I
Rumi,
came
who
to
says,
love, I was
"We don't understand
ashamed
what love
of
is."
all that I ever said
Rumi
about
says,
love.
"When I
Because
came
we
to
think as
love,
humans,
I was
love
ashamed of all that
is
I
simply
ever said about
degrees
love." Because we
of
think as humans,
domination
love
and servitude.
is simply degrees
That's not
of
love.
domination
It goes on
and
on with this poetry, so
servitude.
I won't impose that
That's
on
not
you.
love, says
But
Rumi. It goes on and
it
on
is
with this
something
poetry,
very
so I
beautiful.
won't,
In fact, the
impose
poet
that on
Hafiz,
you.
14th century
But
Hafiz says,
it
have
is
you not
something very
noticed?
beautiful.
We all
In fact,
crave
the
to be
poet Hafiz,
loved.
14th century Hafiz says, have you not
In
noticed?
fact, his
We all
poetry, which I love to
crave
repeat,
be loved.
Hafiz says, when you meet anybody,
In fact,
Jamal,
his poetry, which I love to repeat, Hafiz says, when
you're
you meet
saying,
anybody, Jamal,
please love me, please love me, please love me, please love
you're
me.
saying, please love me, please love me.
But of course,
please
you're
love
saying
me,
this
please love me.
silently. Otherwise, somebody would call
But
the
of course, you're
cops.
saying this silently. Otherwise, somebody would
So
call the
any
cops.
practice of loving yourself, I do it
So any
daily,
practice
of telling my
loving
heart,
yourself,
I love you, I
I do
really
it
love you.
daily of
And
telling my
I'm
heart,
very,
love
I do
you,
it
really love you.
unabashedly. because I know the powers of it.
I do it unabashedly.
For those who
because I know
get
the
very,
powers of
oh,
it.
it feels, they
For
say the
those
word
who
is
get very,
squeamish.
oh, it's-
I
they
say, you
the
know,
word is
to
squeamish.
Muslims, I say, you know, that Prophet
I
Muhammad
say,
said,
to
that
the
Allah
Muslims, I say, you know, that
revealed to him that
Muhammad
Allah said, I
that
cannot be
Allah
contained
revealed
in
to
the
him
space
that
of the
Allah said, I
earth
cannot be
or the
contained
heavens,
in
but
the space
I
of the
can be
earth
contained
or the
in the
heavens,
space of the
I
pure,
can be contained
loving
in the space
heart.
of the pure, loving.
You're saying it to spirit within you, if you feel
You're saying
shy.
it to spirit within you.
If nothing
If you feel
else,
shy. If nothing
focus on
else,
parts of your body and tell your parts of
focus
your
on
body,
parts of your body and tell your
I
parts
love
of your body.
you. Or at least thank you
I
for
love
all the work
or
you're
at
doing.
least thank you for all the work you're doing.
Without any thankfulness from us. We just take it for
Thankfulness from us,
granted.
we just take it for granted.
Okay, just be with that.
Okay, just
I just have one or two more points. I'm
I just
looking
have
at
one
the
or two more
time.
points. I'm looking at the time.
And as you're being pausing, I'm
And as you're
thinking in my
being
mind how
pausing,
to
I'm
shorten
thinking in my
this.
mind how to
Either
shorten
speak
this,
faster
either
or
speak
make it short.
faster or make it
I'll
short. I'll
take an option.
take an option.
Okay, I now
Okay,
remember
I now remember
a friend,
a
I think
friend,
20, 25 or 30 years ago,
30 years ago,
who came up
who
and said, believe it or not, many years
Many
ago, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I don't believe in all this God business. But I was so upset when I was told that, and they said, you know, just a few weeks or months to live. He said, I left the hospital. I have a cabin in some wood area in nature. I said, I love nature. And I said, I stayed in my cabin. My friends or family would bring me food. I refused to go anywhere. I stayed in the cabin in the bosom of nature, and I cried and cried and begged nature to heal me. And he said, believe me or not, guess what? I was healed. When I went to the doctors, they were stunned. So for me, this is for the body, the power of nature. But you see, don't forget, for him, he had what is called increased necessity. A deep, fervent desire to connect with nature. Not just being in nature, which is wonderful and that's very helpful, very powerful, but he had increased necessity. And that deepens the connection. You know, Rumi explains this. Rumi says, have you not noticed that only when a baby is born does the mother's chest become filled with milk? Because at that time there is an increased necessity. So my prayers, my imploring, my begging from God or from nature, if it's filled with increased necessity from the depth of my being, the core of my heart, it has a greater impact. The other story which I remember very well is documented from a medical journal of this a person who was Greek who was told, you have terminal cancer. And he decided, in the few months he had to live, he would go back home to Greece, in his village. And there again, in nature, he just had a very relaxed time, meeting friends, reconnecting with friends over wonderful food, and just waiting to die, but being in the bosom of nature and creating or recreating his circle of love, his community. And guess what? Documented. His health improved by leaps and bounds. Went back to America for a checkup. No more cancer. Went back and continued the life of living in nature, relaxed, eating, with friends and family, a joyful life. After a few years, called the USA for making appointments with the doctors. And it says in the book, I think 2 or 3 of his doctors, they had passed away. But he was still living. So here is the power, besides nature, the power of community, relationships, creating a circle of love. I think in every sermon I talk about, or many of my sermons I talk about, that longest 80 plus years study on happiness by Harvard University. And there are many others which follow, they say the same thing. The number one factor that contributes to happiness is relationships, reliable relationships. Doesn't have to be perfect. And what is also amazing is by examining your relationship, they could also tell you on an average, your longevity. It affected your longevity in a very major way. So think about it, how critical it is for me to have an authentic community. I remember one more example. This is from the Harvard Medical Journal of a Afghani man, and there was an American doctor. This is before the Taliban time, many years ago, who was spending 2 years in a hospital in Afghanistan, and there was again this patient who had terminal cancer. You can go home and die. Then after the 2 years was over, this doctor was returning back to the US. He went into the bazaar or the marketplace to buy some souvenirs to bring to his family. And he said, the writing says, he says, he said, I couldn't see myself, but my face must have gone white like a ghost. Because who did I see in front of me? That man who I knew who would die 2 years ago. How is it possible that he was alive, healthy? What did you do? How is it you're alive? He said, I don't know. In the houses they have a courtyard. They put me in the courtyard. And day and night, 24 hours, my family, my neighbor people, friends, they would come and just pray over me, please God, heal this person, with increased necessity. He said, I don't know what happened. I just got better and better and better. So the power of spiritual practices. The power of laughter. One of the strongest and the most enduring movements in America today is laughter yoga. Their spiritual practice is just laughing for no reason. If you go to Harborview Hospital here, they have those laughter yoga classes. So how did it start? There was this doctor in India who's still living, who besides giving medicine, he would tell jokes to his patients. Because he found that, especially with the jokes, to those who told jokes, they would recover much more faster. So invariably, that was his treatment. Medicine, if necessary, but jokes for sure. Till he ran out of jokes. Then he began to wonder, what if I just have people laugh? Because it's the action of laughing that creates the healing. So those who know his story, he went into a park and he gathered all his people. He said, okay, form a circle, put your hands out like this, and just laugh and laugh and laugh. And why like this? Not looking at anybody, so you won't be self-conscious and you will really laugh. And the people around, they said, this such a respectable doctor, what is he doing? Crazy stuff. And they were like this, But they watched those people laugh and laugh and laugh, and the laughter was so infectious, even those people who were like this, their arms unfolded, and they also began to laugh. So if you Google, I think you call it Sheikh Google, like say Uncle Google, if you Google laughter yoga, you'll find this has developed into a huge movement all over the world as a spiritual practice. Just putting your arms out and laughing, and they have all kinds of different laughters. Donkey laughter, Christmas laughter, whiskey laughter, different kinds of laughter. But just laugh, laugh, laugh, and it heals your body. Okay, I'm going to end now for sure. So it's bound to come to an end sometime. Even my sermons have to come to an end. So, but I do want to say that, eventually, if we do all these spiritual practices that I've talked about, thoughts of the mind, practices from the heart, we'll realize that we'll have to eventually give way. That wonderful saying, when the season of autumn comes, no leaf is spared because of its beauty, no flower because of its fragrance. Eventually, our body will wilt away. But if we do these practices, then we shall be able to do it with grace, even with joy. Because whether we know it or not, our soul is so happy to be reunited with Source. So I love the words of Rumi, who says, if you've done all of this, how marvelous was the way you quit the world. The way you ruffled your feathers and, breaking free of your cage, you took off for the soul's world. A love-sick nightingale among owls. A love-sick nightingale among owls. You caught the scent of roses and flew to the rose garden. So, my friends, let's bring this to a close. And a short meditation. Close your eyes. Please focus on your nostril. Simply being mindful of your in-breath and your out-breath. Just this much. And now letting go of this, and this time still eyes closed, focus on your physical heart. And as you know, our heart has been yearning to connect with us. If it works for you, put one hand or both hands over the heart and really feel the heart. Connect with the heartbeat, the rhythm of the heart. And then, through the heart, listen to this beautiful revelation where Spirit, God, whatever your belief system is, Jesus, peace be upon him, divinity says to each one of us, beloved one, I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart. Just be with that mystery. Divine heart is inside human heart. And now the practice which I do daily, telling the heart, the space which is boundless, I love you. But with that tone of love, with that feeling of compassionate love, I love you. Or, please help me to love you. And you can add other words, whatever resonates within you. I am so grateful, thank you. And or, please, help me, I need help. I surrender to you. You can never overdo this with feeling, saying it again and again and again and again and again. And as you keep saying those words again and again, a most magical, enchanting, divine vibration filled with blessings, love, compassion, healing, empowerment, transformation is going from the tongue into the mouth, into the throat, into the chest, deep into the heart, and then even deeper into the hidden, and even deeper into the hidden of the hidden, astonishingly blessing us, healing us, loving us, and transforming us. Just become very still, letting go of everything. And as we do the chant, ever so gently coming into awareness. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. One more time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Let's do one more chant, praising God, knowing that when we praise Spirit, God doesn't become holy, we become holy. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Just the beloved women now. The beloved men. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Family all together. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Once softly. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Twice aloud. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. And once again, practicing silence, being open to receiving what is called the glow of presence. And now, my friends, as you are silent, just to lovingly tell you this is a time for sharing our wealth. Anything you offer to us, we pray, whether it's in material money or your prayers for us, we pray it is returned to you many, many, many-fold.
I did want to make one announcement about those type of donations. We have a website, interfaithcommunitysanctuary.org. There is a donate button there. If you're watching us online or just you think of another time about us and you wish to make some contribution, we'd love to have it. Anything is welcome. And in spirit of that, I somehow, in my phone's infinite wisdom, it is a smartphone after all, therefore smarter than me, I did find that Margot Adler quote. And just as a reminder of who she was, she wrote Drawing Down the Moon, Witches, Druids, Goddess Worshippers, and Other Pagans in America. And I think this quote speaks a lot to not just the Divine Feminine, but to things like this time right now. The world is holy, nature is holy, the body is holy, sexuality is holy. The imagination is holy, divinity is immanent in nature, it is within you as well as without. Most spiritual paths ultimately lead people to the understanding of their own connection to the divine. While human beings are often cut off from experiencing the deep and ever-present connection between themselves and the universe, that connection can often be regained through ceremony and community. The energy you put out into the world comes back. Blessed be Margaret Island.
Thank you so much, Brother Chris. And now some news of upcoming gatherings. We have lots and lots of programs happening. This has been a very packed weekend. And today I believe at 5 o'clock, we have that very popular musical program called Blues Vespers. And Pastor Dave Brown will be here. I'll be here. We'll just offer just maximum 6-7 minutes of talk. Besides that, it's all music upon music upon music. And I believe we have flyers here for those. And any upcoming gatherings?
Hi, we have a potluck after the service today, so please join us downstairs. Don't worry if you didn't bring food. There's lots of food there because we've been having gatherings all weekend, and we have lots of wonderful food to share if you feel inclined. And then also, next Sunday, of course, Reverend Karen Lindquist will be offering the service and also following along the themes that we've been using this month and this year about the refinement and our journey of transformation, really, as we go through the human life. You're welcome at 10 a.m. every Sunday, and we look forward to seeing you again. There are also classes that go on all week here at the sanctuary, and there are meditation groups that meet. There's a Native American Women's Medicine Circle that meets. There's a Course in Miracles, Masnawi study group. So check out our website where we have our regular events and we have our special events. So we have things going on that we want to appeal to your personal needs at any particular moment in your life. What are your personal spiritual needs, and help you build community, because that is the wonderful thing about this community is people come here to be with other people who accept them, who will listen to them, who understand. We understand each other. We try to learn from each other, grow through our relationships, and that's something that we all need in this world. So we encourage you to join us in whatever calls to you. Try it out. You might be surprised that you'll find a group of people who really you feel comfortable around, and that's what we'd like to help us all find, and also learn new things. So if there's anyone with a special event that I might have forgotten, I think Jamal got most of it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sister Sally Jo. And next week is Reverend Karen Lindquist, who is a co-founder of this wonderful Interfaith Community Sanctuary. That's next Sunday. So my dear friends, we'll do a closing blessing. Then you're not unconvened till I ring the bell. But after I ring the bell, I think the internet will close. Then there's a brief time of sharing. And after that is descent into downstairs to the promised land of exotic food and beverages. So here's a blessing. It's in your program, I think. I am blessed by your presence. I think it says there. I am blessed by your presence, O Lord. Take a deep breath. I am filled with your blessings, Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah. One more time. I am blessed by your presence, O Lord. Deep breath. I am filled with your blessings, Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah. And now, my friends, when I ring this bell, our friends on the internet will go off, and you'll be unconvened, but just stay for a few